I just want to put some information out there for people who live in certain areas of Saginaw County that I have had suspicion or direct evidence that somebody's using a simulator. Um, Now, there's some people that use simulator that are part of community policing. Yeah, I mean, it may be controversial. They're using either MC Catcher, or actually not a full MC Catcher. They're using a full simulator or a full darn, what do you call it? A darn, I forgot the name of the darn device. Stingray, which has a few more modalities than MC Catcher does. It's just basically a simulator. Um, but so I mean, it has its benefits. Yeah, that means people, if these are connected, these companies and these people are connected to law enforcement, they're hunting predators, hunting drug dealers, human traffickers, stuff like that, which is good. Sorry. Sometimes it goes down the wrong side. Another thing ignored. um, all right. But so it's good and bad, but also involves grabbing phones, monitoring some communications of those phone numbers and the IMEI connected to them that was flagged. So it's good and bad. The bad part is that some of these companies, they're unprofessional. They have no law enforcement training. It's just people that are self-styled vigilantes. You see them out in YouTube. There's a lot of different fringe religious groups that call themselves pedophile hunters. And they think they're Chris Hansen, which they're not. He's a former cop, very professional, an expert in this. They are not. So, like I said, it's good and bad. The problem we found is some of these people, they think it's funny to use these simulators to screw with people, screw with their phones, to manipulate the weaknesses in the infrastructure of the operating systems for LTE and 4G phones. I've talked about that in other posts and other videos. Some people find it funny to do stuff to people's phone. People will be texting with somebody, maybe they think it's family, and it's not. And you talk to family, and they're like, "What? No, I didn't get that text." "Well, you replied." "No, I didn't." "Yeah, I have it right here." Well, that's how those situations happen. Because somebody thinks it's funny to cross boundaries. That's illegal. They can't do that. Even when law enforcement use it, it's very shaky in court. They got to have all the criteria for probable cause. If they can get, some kind of a warrant for the numbers and the communication. I mean, it can get really murky, even in court. Even if it's a FISA investigation, they suspect somebody's into some illegal or terrorist activities. Illegal government sharing of data or intelligence or sharing stuff about our grid or something like that. Even a FISA investigation can get murky when it goes into court. You got to have everything perfect and have, without a clear, any doubt at all, without any doubts that, it's got to be clearly probable cause, clearly, and without any reservation to stand up in court, and that's FISA. Federal Internal Security Act. It protects our national security from risks that are domestic, but actually it can be used abroad as well. But there's a lot more latitude when you're abroad, actually. But these people are doing this. My concern is, as a parent and somebody with health issues and a single parent, if these garbage people, that's what they are, they're trash, you know, legitimate companies working with law enforcement are not going to screw with your phone. I mean, if they were, them and the cops, all of them should be in prison. I'm not saying you won't see this. There's bad cops out there, and there's bad cop contractors too. I'm not going to, I live in the real world too. But most people in law enforcement, including investigating companies or nonprofits, will not do that. But my concern is if you have an emergency situation, this has happened to me before. Actually, stuff has happened. I've had to hang up on people because I knew it was not a 911 operations center. But when you're calling 911, you think you're talking to 911, but you're not. Somebody's like, oh, yeah, I'll call you back. Let me call the ambulance. That's not how it works, folks. That's not how it works. So I'm like, you know what? Don't bother. I know that you're not 911. Well, you can't say that, sir. I'm going to report you. I'm like, click. They were not 911. That's not how 911 911 is monitored by the state. And every single call has to meet certain criteria, or it affects budgeting. It affects their certifications. And it even affects the various law enforcement regulations that surround that agency. You can't mess with 911. Also, it involves townships and cities because everybody shares part of the bill. Some places pay more than others, which makes no sense at all. In our township that we live, we pay quite a bit of a 911 surcharge compared to other townships that I've lived at in Saginaw and Bay County, which I'm very surprised. But I mean, the giant vehicles that I see some of the township police buy, that kind of explains it. It's unnecessary. All you need is a good size Envoy or a Trailblazer. Nobody needs a Yukon. Come on, a Yukon or a. There's another big one. What is that? Another large vehicle. I can't remember I think it's a Ford. Anyway, all you need is 4 seats. You don't need, only K9 needs a larger cab. That's it, K9 only. Or EMT, if a police officer's EMT qualified, because they have to carry EMT gear. I could understand them having a larger vehicle. That's it. But yeah, that's my concern. Is if you're not getting the real people for 911, and in an area when I know without a doubt that some of the bad guys have this military technology. There's a lot of hackers in the Tri-County area that are involved in crime. Believe it or not, the old image of some thug walking down the street with pants falling down, whatever race predominantly, in the neighborhood that it is, carrying his gun in his back or in his front, by his zipper in the front of his pants. It's a different world now, folks. That's not the image of the gangster anymore. I mean, you'll still find some of them, but now you'll find kids running around with sweatpants, black or gray, or really colors that they'll blend in and be nothing, be just ignored, with their hoodies and their sweatpants and their backpacks. That's the new gangsters. They may or may not have a weapon, but they'll hack you. They'll con you, anything they can. Disable your phone, prevent your uploads even. That's also a kind of gangster nowadays. And if one of these criminals, were happen to intercept a phone call when a family is in an emergency, that's what concerns me. And these are some of the townships. Now, we live outside of Saginaw County. I'm not going to say where exactly, but we're out and about. Sometimes we're in Bay County as well. Um, Also out and about. But these are the areas that I've seen, as I said before, I have suspicion or I have direct evidence of a simulator in operation. Albee Township, Spalding Township, Saginaw Township, Buena Vista Township, City of Saginaw. That's where some of the places are where people are using simulators, or they are using IMSI catchers and hacking people other ways. And I discussed this with 2 different police agencies within Saginaw County, and I was told they don't have the funding to deal with that. Neither do they have the training. But yet they're going to pay for some subcontractor through Morley Group of Companies to design a new website. I mean, does that even make sense to me? Not really. Does it make sense to you? Probably not. I think having a new website is kind of a much, much lower priority than investigating and prosecuting crime. Especially when these people, some people find it offensive when I say this. I don't really care, because if you've studied profiling, you know that I'm right. These people that repeatedly criminally hack people repeatedly, and they find it funny and they brag about it, this is the same attitude you see amongst serial rapists. The same attitude. Crossing boundaries. It's funny. I don't care. Oh, they found a way to block me. Oh, I'll show them again. Like I said, same exact attitude, including the aggressive retaliation. This is not the kind of people we want in our society, folks. They're not fighting crime. They're not hunting some predators. Many of these people shouldn't even have a computer in their hands. They're just as unlikable, unwelcome, and boundary crossing as the very predators that they claim to be hunting.